So we are done with all the functionality in our backend. Everything's working fine. And now we have to work on the front end. So what we have to do is come back in the component and we have to work on each one of this component one by one. So simply type RAFCE, it will generate this boilerplate. And if you want to know that how I'm generating by typing this particular command, because I have installed a particular extension. So if I come back to the extension, you will see I want you to install this three extension. The first one is this one, auto rename tag. If you click, you can easily able to rename any of your HTML tag. For example, if I want to rename this, so if I rename this h1, it will automatically rename the close div, close tag. You can see if you change one, it will change the other one. So this one is pretty good extension. Then we have to install this env.env, because you can see that in my .env file I have this colorful code because of this particular extension I have installed. And the next one, you have to install this one, ES7 React Redux React Native snippet. So I have simply typed RAFCE, it will generate the boilerplate for me because of this extension. So install these three extension. This will save a lot of your time for generating the boilerplate. So this is the boilerplate we have generated for the add token. Looks pretty good. Simply type RAFCE, it will generate the boilerplate. Let's do the same thing for all the component. RAFCE, home, network, price, profile, setting, token exchange token, top exchange token, then we have trade, and we have trading. So we have generated all the boilerplate. Now simply close all of this open component. So if you want to close it, simply type press command W, it will close. So let me close that very quickly. So we have done with all that. Now we have to work on the global one. Let's do the same thing for footer, header, loader. We have the login, moving submenu, preloader. We have search, and we have sidebar, sign up, and use timeout. So all of this hooks looks pretty good to me. So we are done with that. And now what we have to do is we have to import all of this component in this index file. So let's do that. So first we have to import the body, then global, all of that we have to import. So let's call this global component. We have to import first global component. So say import, give the name of the component and the file. So this file is coming from the /global, and we need this header. Simply replicate this couple of times. So duplicate all of this, and now simply change this one to, let's say, footer. This will be the loader. This one is login. This one we have moving submenu. This one is preloader, search, sidebar. We have this sign up, and we have this use timeout. So all of these components are imported successfully. Looks pretty good to me. Now simply copy and change one by one. So this one is footer. So do that for all of them. We got to do it very quickly. So just wait. Now come back here. Let's do the same thing for the body component. We'll say body component, components. Let's import the home, and that's coming from the body/home, and replicate this couple of times and do the exactly what we have done above. So this will become our top trade token. This one will be top exchange token. This one network. Then we have add network, price, profile, setting, add token pair, and the last one we have is trading. So all of these components are liquid defined, and now we have to simply export the component. So let's do that. We'll say export. We have to export the header, then footer, and now we have to simply change the name. So let's come back here. So let's change this to copy and paste here. Copy and paste here. This one is network, paste, add network, paste here. This one is the price, paste, profile, paste, setting, add token pair, and trading. And we have to do exactly the same thing for all of the global one. So simply copy, and we have to paste here. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and copy and paste. Now we have to export all of the components. So this one is the search, then we have moving menu, then we have preloader, sidebar, home, trade token, top exchange token, networks, add network, price, login, sign up, profile, and we have this setting. We have add token pair, then we have trading, and the last one we have is the loader. Save it, looks pretty fine. And this one is token pairs, so copy and paste it. So we have imported and exported all the components. So this is the general convention which we follow in the industry for exporting the component. In that way, when someone else will review your code, they can easily be able to identify that what exactly you have done. So this is the exact tree you have to follow. So we are done with this component structure, and now we can start working one by one. So before we start working, come back here in the global CSS file, and this looks pretty fine. We have already done the setups. Come back to the pages, and now we have to do the setup in the pages. So go to the app.js, and here we can do the configuration. But before we do that, let's do the setting in the context. So remove this, we'll come back to the context, and let's do the setup. So come back here, and this is the ABI and the routers which I have provided already. So don't need to do anything in here. Come back to the context, and let's type RAFC. This will generate the boilerplate. Simply remove this particular section, and now we have to import a couple of things from React, like use state, use effect. Let's do the setup. So once we connect our context management to our application, after that we're going to work on each one of the functionality which we're going to connect with the front end. So we got this. Now we have to import the ether, then we have to import the XCS package, then we have to do the internal import. In that we have to simply call export context, because this is what we're going to call in our component to get the data from our context management. In that we have to simply say react.create context. Now we have to build the provider, so we'll say export const, and I call it provider. In that we have to simply pass the children, so we'll say children, and we have to simply return this particular section. We're going to define all the variable, all the function, and we're going to export it. Now let's take a variable called, let's call this trading bot, and it's going to be trading bot. So this is the variable I have taken, which I will show you how you can display and get this particular variable. So once we have this variable, now let's just write down all the functionality. Let's build the boilerplate for the functions which we're going to create for making the trade possible. So this is the one function we're going to create. So let's call this load initial data, and it's going to be an async type. We'll have to catch the error. We'll take this try and catch, and we'll simply console log out the error object. So this is the function we have to build, and now we have to work on the other function buy. Simply call buy token. It's going to be an async, try and catch, and console log out the error. So this is another function we're going to build. So this is the second function. Simply copy this one, and now we have to work on the cell function. This will call cell token, change this to cell, and the last function we have to build called trade. So we'll call it trading. So these are the 4 functions we're going to create, and after that we're going to simply return that. So here we have to take this context. On that we have to call the provider, and let's close this context provider. We'll say provider, okay, not from here, just provide this here and remove this one. Inside that we have to pass the children, and this is the exact setup you have to do. Now if you want to access the variable and the function, you have to simply pass here. We'll say value, and here we're going to simply pass down all the function variable, all the function which we want to receive in our application with the help of context management. So this is the variable I have created. So this is the one. Let's pass that one. So we'll say trading bot, and let's pass the trading function, because these are the 2 functions we're going to use it. So whatever you will pass, whatever variable and function you will pass into this value, that would be available in your context management, and you can simply call it. So this is the exact setup you have to do if you want to use for context management. Now we have to simply wrap this entire application with our context, so we'll have the data. So let's do that. Come back here in the app.js file, and here we have to simply first import our context. So we'll say internal import, and we have to call this, let's say it's coming from our -- context. In that we have this called provider, and that's what we have to wrap with. And we have to also take the toaster, because we have to display the error message whenever the transaction will complete. We have to display the pop-up notification, and we're going to use this particular library for displaying that. So it's coming from React Hot. It's a React Hot Toaster. React Hot Toast. I guess I have not installed this particular package. Let's come back here. Okay, we don't have this particular package, that's why we are not getting this suggestion. So simply copy this one and install. It's pretty easy. Open up your terminal. You can see this particular library is not there. This particular package is not found there. So simply do one thing, split your terminal and type npm I and paste, hit enter. It's going to install the package. Now everything looks pretty good. Now we have this particular package in our project, so we can utilize that. So it looks pretty good. Now we have to simply wrap this entire application with our provider. So take this fragment. Inside that we have to take the provider. We have to simply close the provider, and we have to simply cut and paste inside this. In that way, what will happen, that whatever data will pass into our context provider, that would be available in our application, because this is the configuration we have done. Now let's remove this. Looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the libraries and the JavaScript file which I'm using for animations and styling purpose. So let's import that. We'll take the toaster, because that's the global. You can attach this toaster individually in the page, but we are going with the global approach, so we don't need to paste this particular component in every single page or every single component. Now once we have that, now we have to attach the JavaScript files. So we'll say, so let me show you the JavaScript file. So right now we have these 3 files, and that's what we have to simply attach. So we'll take this type. We'll say type is going to be text/JavaScript, and now we have to provide the source of the file. So source, first we have to get into the JavaScript /jQuery.js, and we are using this particular version, like 1.0.0. So this is the version we are using. It's a huge package. Now all you have to do is to simply replicate this 3 times, because we have to import 3 files, and change the name to plugins. And this is the plugin, same version, and this is the JavaScript file. So let's import that to init, and that's the only thing we have to do for the time being here in the app.js. So this is the setup we are doing, because we want to use external JavaScript library and we want to use our context provider. Now if I reload the page, you can see everything is working fine. We have no issue, no problem. So that means we are going good. Now we can come back here. Now this is done. Simply close this one, and now we have to work on our index page, because that's going to trigger every single component and all the context data. So now what I'm going to do is, so this is the index page we have here, and things are looking good. Now first we have to import a couple of things from React: use state, use effect, and use context, because we are using context for getting the data. Now let's come back. Let's import the Axios. Then we have to import the ether. Now we have to import the toaster. So we got all of these packages. Now we have to do the internal import. So first let's import the components. So this is coming from our component. So from dot component slash index. Now come back here in the index and simply copy all of this. And that's what we can simply pass, because all of this component is going to be utilized in the home page and it's a single page application. So we're going to make it dynamic. That looks fine. Now we have to import the context. So that's coming from the context. Let's import the context. Once we have that, now we can simply get the data. So we'll take a variable call and we'll pass this use context. In that we have to simply pass the context. In this way, what we'll have now, if I come back to the context, and this is the variable we have exported from here. So if I want to access this trading bot variable, I can simply copy this, or I can copy anything, copy and paste here. In that way, I can easily able to have the access of that particular data. So if I show you, if I take this h1 and if I want to display this particular data trading bot, I can simply pass it as a prop. If I come back to the front end, reload the page, you can see we have the access of this particular variable. So this is really powerful. So we got the data, our context is working absolutely fine, the setup is done. Now we're going to start working on the functionality. So this looks pretty good. I hope you guys have followed so far and things are pretty good to all of you guys. Now simply close all of these open files. This is good. Now what we can do is simply remove that, and now we're going to work on the application, and let's call all the component. So first we have to call this particular component called moving submenu, and we have to call this preloader. So this is the two component. If I reload the page, you can see that we have this two component. We can easily able to import and display. Now let's start working on the moving submenu. So simply remove this, and it will have a class called techWeb -fn -fixed, and it's going to be a dynamic component. We're going to just attach the entire menu list with the help of the JavaScript or dynamically. So we'll take this UL, and that's the only thing we have to write here in the moving side. Everything will make sense. If you save, you will find that this will not display in the front end because it's going to be displayed in the mobile device only. So save it. Now come back here. Now only we have preload, because that's going to be a dynamic component. So if I do the inspect element, you can see we have only the preload. Things good, looks good. Now come back here. Now we have to work on the preload. So let's build this one. So what I'm going to do is let me make it side by side so you guys can see that what we are exactly working on. So let's assign a class called techWeb -fun -preloader enable. You can see we got that in center, and now we have to simply add the CSV file. So simply remove this and add a CSV icon. So this is the icon which you have to create. Let's call this CSV and close that CSV. Inside that we have to take this two line of circle code we have to write. So we'll take this circle and we have to close this particular tag, and we have to assign this particular variable, because most of the functionality will come from the JavaScript files, the external library we are using. All we have to do is to provide the structure. So we'll say class is going to be first circle. It will have the CX 50%, CY means height is going to be 50%, and we're going to have the radius is going to be 110. Simply save. You can see we have this circle. Looks pretty good. Now we have to add the second circle, and that's going to have the animation. So simply replicate this. All you have to do is to change the class. So we'll say second circle and save it. And there it is. The animation is working fine. We got the loader. Pretty good. And this loader will run every time whenever the user will come and reload the page. So that time we're going to trigger this particular loader. So far things are look good. We have done with the loader. Now close this one. Now we can come back here. So we are done with this two component, and now we have to work on the next component. So what I would like to do is come back here, and you can see, let's take couple of variable. So we'll take a state variable, and let's comment this one. Let's take the variable called use state, and we're going to call this active component. By default, we want to open the home page. Then we'll have another one called use state, and this will call the membership type, and by default we'll say premium. Then we'll take another one. This will be called auth backend ID, and this will have the empty. And you can see we have this white, and the reason why we are facing this issue because our backend and the front end is running. And when you are running front end and backend on the same domain during the development, it takes a little bit time to apply the styling and changes you are making in the component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the backend and focus on the front end for a time being. So before I do that, come back here. Let's type hey. You can see nothing is displaying because our backend is running and it's taking a little bit time. Reload the page, and you can see here it is. We have to reload the page because the backend is running, and due to that we are facing that issue. So come back here and open up your terminal and stop the application. We have stopped. Now we have to do the changes in the config file, the package.json file. So come back here, and here we have to do is, so this is the package.json log.json, not in this file, in the package.json. And here we have to change that. Instead of running this nodemon and the server file, we have to run the dev environment. So we'll change this to next, replace this one for a time being. Okay, as long as we are working on the front end part, we have to simply disable the backend. We'll say next dev and save it. And now you start the application. So this time the front end will start. So we'll say npm run dev, and looks fine. We have started the application on localhost 3000. Now we can simply reload the page and there is no problem. You can see still everything's working fine. Now let's make the screen side by side and drag it here. Close this one, and this is also done. Now here we are in the index page. Now come here and let's take the other state variable. So we'll take this use state. This will call the networks, and it will be an object. Then we'll take another one. This will be the network name. It will be an empty string. Looks good. Now we can come back here. Now let's build the notification. So let's configure that because we are using the toaster. So this is the package we are using. Let's configure that for the success message and for the error message. Let's call this one notify error. It's going to take the callback function. We'll pass the message, and in that we have to pass this toaster.error, and we have to pass the message and the duration, that how long we want to render the notification component. So I'll go for the 2 seconds. Same thing we have to do for the success. Simply replicate it and change the method. This will call success, and we have to call the success method. So this is our reusable model component which we can simply call. Now simply replace this one, and now we have to work on the component exactly. So first we're going to render the dynamic component, means the sign up page, because that's the very first page a new user will see when he will try to access our application, means account create page or login page. So let's take this active account. If it's equal to sign up, then we have to display the sign up component. In that we have to simply pass the prop, means we have to pass the XCS package, and we have to pass this set active component, because if it's already have an account, then we have to allow them to log in. Looks good. Okay, why I'm getting this one, and let's give this one and save it. So this is our dynamic component, but right now you can see nothing is displaying because we have to change that. So if I come back here in the sign up component, let's import a couple of things very quickly. So we need this use state, we need this use effect, then we can come back here and we have to simply receive the props. So we need to receive the, let's say what are the props we are sending. We are sending the Axios and the set active component. So receive the Axios, simply copy and paste here. Now we have to copy and paste here. So these are the two props we are receiving. Now we can come back here. Now we have to take a variable. We'll say that use user, and it's going to be an object because we have to take a couple of information from the user like name, email, password, confirm password. So let's define that. We'll say name, we'll say email, password, and confirm password. So these are the four information we are taking. Looks pretty good to me. Now let's build a function which allows us to update this particular object. So we'll take this handle form field change. All we have to do is to call this particular function on the input field, and it's going to update this particular data. So in that, we're going to receive the field name, like field name and event. Once we have these two, we have to simply call this set user, and we have to deconstruct the object, and then we have to simply update that. So we'll say field name e.target.value. So in that way, we can easily able to update the data. Looks pretty good. No issue we have. Why I'm getting this particular warning? Let's see. Save it. What is the problem? And here we have to provide this comma, and that's fine. So this is the function. Looks good. So we got the function. Looks good. Now we can come back here and let's build the logic for authentication. So we'll say call create account. It's going to be an async. In that we have to pass the event. Now we have to take this event dot prevent default because we are using the form component to submit the data. So once you're done with that, we have to build a if statement. So we'll say if user dot name is empty and the user email is empty, or user password is empty, or confirm password is empty. In that we have to throw the error message. We'll say user password confirm is empty. In that we have to simply throw the error message. We have to return, and we can say console.log. We'll say please provide all the details. Save it. It's pretty fine. Now what I can do is, instead of using this console log, we already have this toaster, the error component, the notification component. So I can simply copy. So simply pass here in the component, and I can simply copy that. I can receive that as a prop, and I can simply paste here. In that way, what will happen, this will display the pop-up message. And now we can simply do the same thing with the success component, because once the user will create his account, we have to display the success message as well. Let's receive as a prop. Done with that, we'll display this message that wait, creating account. So this is a notification we'll do when the user will, when the account creation will take place. And simply close this one, and we can come back here. Let's take a try and catch. In that, we're going to make an API request. So we'll call it API. So before we start working on the API, let's work on the component. Let's build the skeleton, and we're going to simply attach the functionality. So let's come back here. Let's take a class. It will have a class called tech web -fn -sign. And in that we can take this div. It will have a class called sign content. Inside that we'll take h1. It will have a class called logo, and we'll say design by $. Save it, and simply save this one. And let me change this. Right now you can see this component is not visible because we are rendering the home component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to render the sign up component. So simply copy this particular one, and let's paste here and save it. And here we have the logo, and this particular logo is getting triggered by JavaScript. Remember that class we have called login, and because of that it's getting triggered. If I change this to home, you can see this is the home component, but if I change it to sign up, it says signage. Looks pretty good. Okay, don't need to worry about that. We're going to simply make it work. If I make on the big screen, this is what we have here. And if I make it side by side, let's bring it here. If I comment this, it's gone. So it looks pretty good. Now this is what we have. Come back here, and we'll say form. Let's remove the action, and let's work on the form component. So let's assign a class login. It will say have another class called form content. Inside that we'll take another, it will have a class called form title, and we'll say sign up. There it is. Then we can come back here and let's take a div. It will have a class called form user name. In that we'll take the label and we'll assign a HTML for to user login. Inside that we'll take this name, and here we'll have the input field. We'll say text. It will have a class called input. We'll call it onChange, and on that onChange we're going to simply call the function we have built. So we have this handle form field change. In that we'll pass the name of the field which we want to update and the event. In that way it will update the data in our user object. Got it? Pretty good. Now what we have to do is we have to simply replicate this 4 times. So simply copy and paste, paste and paste. Now we have to change the data. So this one is going to be email. Then we have the password, and this one is the password. And this one is the confirm, password confirm. Make sure to give the exact name which we have given in our user object. Simply copy, and that's what we have to simply paste here. And that looks pretty good, but I can see that our design is not that up to mark. Okay, we'll try to fix that. Just let's work on the skeleton. We'll see what problem we have in the code with this styling part. Now we can come back here. Let's take a div and let's attach a button. We'll have a class called form alert. Inside that we'll have a anchor, and we don't need to redirect anywhere. Simply remove that. It will have an onClick function, and on that onClick we have to simply call the account create function. So we'll say create account, and we have to pass the event, and we'll say have a class called tech web function button, and we'll have call span. We'll have say create account. There we have the button. Pretty good. Now we can come out of this form, and we have to display the short notification bar if the user have created their account, so they can simply log in. So let's display that. It will have a class called sign this, and we'll take a paragraph and we'll say not a member. Then we'll take this anchor, remove this one. We'll have an onClick, and we have this particular function. We'll say set active component, and we have to open the login component and save it, and we'll say login. There it is. Pretty good. Now if I make on the big screen, you can see it's not up to the mark. If I reload the page, we have to check the CSS name. So if I come back here, and I found the problem we have in the CSS class name, so make sure to give the double slash. So make sure to do the double slash in all the places. Do that, this one, and this one, and this one. So once you do that, everything will work fine. You can see our component looks absolutely perfect. No issue we have. Reload the page, and this looks good. If I open this and try to write, so let's come back here and let's try to console log out this user object, and let's try to get the data. So we'll say console.log user, and let's test that whether our data is getting updated or not. So right now we don't have anything. Reload the page. Now let's type the name. Okay, I'm getting this error. Let's see what's the problem I have. Let's make on the big screen, and I can see there it is. So I have to remove this M. It's say users. Save it. Reload the page. Now you can type the name. It's getting updated. Type the email. Type the password. So everything's getting updated. Pretty good. Reload the page, and that looks fine. We got all the data. Now what we're gonna do is simply come here, and now we have to start the backend, because this time we're going to simply call the API and allow the user to create their account. So come back here in the package.json file, and let's bring it back. Let's bring it here, and let's change this to nodemon server.js. Save it. Let's stop the application running, and let's restart the server. and the front end, npm run dev. And here we have started our database and the front end. So looks pretty good. Close that one. Now come back here. And now we have to build the logic to connect and make a API call. So that looks good. Come back here. We'll take this const, we'll say response, await XCS, and we'll take an object, and we have to provide all the methods and the data and the endpoint. So first is going to be the method, and the method we have to make is the post request, because we're going to send the data to our backend. Then we have to define the URL. So this is the URL we have built. So let's take this template literal, take this /API/v1/user. So this is the endpoint, and we have to simply call sign up. I hope you guys haven't forgot that. If I come back here in the app.js, so first it's going to take this root, and then on that we're going to simply call this, because all of this, in that we have all of these methods: sign up, login, and buy. If I show you the API, this is the route we have built. All we have to do is to simply call. So this is the URL. Now we have to provide this with credential, and the reason why we have to provide this to true, because in response we'll get the cookie, and we want to store that cookie. If you don't provide, you're not able to store the cookie, and it will create a problem. So make sure to provide this with credential true. And we have to provide the data. So the data is going to be the name, and this data will be available in the body. So remember, in the backend we are receiving the name, email, password, and password confirm from the body, because that's how we can send the data in the body and receive in the function. So name, replicate that and change this to all. This will be the email, this will be the password, and this is the password confirm. So make sure you have to check your spelling. So once the API call will be successful, it's going to give us the response, and we have to receive that response. So we'll say if response.data.status is success, because that's what we are sending. If it's success, then we have to perform something. So if I show you the control, once the user will create his account, this is the response we're going to send it, success, and we'll have all of this data, token, and the user information. So these are the information we have to receive. So come here, if it's success, then we're going to simply notify the user that you have successfully created your account. So I'll simply copy this one, and that's what I'm going to simply display and change this to, let's say, account created successfully. Then we have to simply store all of this information in the local storage, so we can retrieve the data into our different components. So let's store the information. We'll say local storage, set item, and let's give the name. I'll say user membership, because by default when the user will create his account, he's not a member, he's not taking any our services. So we have to store that information as well. So we'll say user membership, we'll say response.data.data user, and in that we have this membership type. So this will store the data in the local storage, and from there we can simply confirm that. So this is the user membership. Now simply copy and replicate 2 times, and now we have to simply store the token. So we'll say crypto bot and backend. So in that we have to store the user ID. So we'll say user ID. Once we store the user ID, then we have to simply store the token. So simply replace this one, and we'll say crypto auth token, and this will be the token. Save it. Looks pretty good. This is the one which we try to access here. Once we're done with that, we have to simply reload the browser, and that's the only thing we have to do here. Okay, now else, if the response is not in our favor, means if something's went wrong, we have to display this error message: something went wrong, try again later. So looks good, and the same thing we have to do here. Here we're going to simply console log out the entire error object. So we'll say console.log error object. So this looks good. So what we have done, first we have built the user object, then we have built this particular function which allows us to update the user information. Then we have this create account function where we are doing all the check and sending the response and storing the information in the local storage after the successful account creation. So far things are pretty good, no issue we have. Now we can simply test that out. So simply reload the page, and you can see things are pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is let's test this out. So our application is running successfully, server is also running successfully, no issue we have. Let's save it, so it will restart the server, reload the page. Now let's pass down all the information. So if you come back to the application, these are the old information I have stored in my local storage, so I can simply remove that, and all the information is going to be stored here in the local system. Come back here in the console and let's provide the details. So we'll say Daulat Hussain, I'll say email daulat@gmail.com. Let's assign a password. Let's assign a password 123 and click on this confirm. You can see notification is working fine, but we haven't created the account. Okay, if I come back to the error, there is no error, no information, and here I can see something went wrong in our backend. So if I bring down up here, and here I'm getting this particular one, unhandled rejection Mongo error. DB already exists with a different case, already have. Okay, I do understand that it's there a problem with the name. I have provided this 0 in our project name, and because of that I'm getting this particular error message. So it's not a big deal, and these are the things you have to know, because these are the very important things which you have to know, that how to debug this particular error. So the problem we have is this particular 0. So if you remove, it will fix the issue. So that one we don't need to provide in our database string. So once you save, it will work fine. So simply restart the application, because it's going to read our environment variable. So stop the application from running and let's restart it, and this time we won't have any issue. Save it, it looks fine, no issue we have so far. Now we can simply create an account. If I come back to the database, right now we don't have any information and everything looks fine. Now come back here and let's create an account. So we'll say Daulat Hussain, let's give the email, let's give the password, let's give the confirm password, and call it create account. So here you can see the account is successfully created. We got the notification. If you check the application, the local storage, you can see we have all of this data. We have the user, membership, but our token is not displaying. Okay, it says undefined. It says undefined, but the ID and the membership is fine. Okay, maybe I have done something wrong. If you come back to the database, if you go to the browser collection, you will see that we have successfully created one user, and there it is. We have the password is an encrypted form, we have the email, we have the name, we have the role, and we have the membership. That looks good. And this is very important. You have to encrypt the sensitive data in your database. Never ever try to expose the important credential. So if you are using private key of any user for transferring the fund, you have to encrypt those crypto wallets address for being on the safer side. Now what I will do is, I can see the token is getting undefined. So I can do one thing. I can simply come back to my code and I can see the problem. So I know what more problem I have made. So this is fine, don't need to do anything in here. Simply close this one, close this one. Here we are in the sign up, and this is the problem we have. So instead of getting the data access from the data user token, this data is available in only the data. Okay, we don't need to get into the user information. So simply remove this one and remove this, and this time it will work fine. Save it, because this data token is on the out of this user object, and save it. Looks good, pretty good. And now we can simply do that. So come back to the database and I can simply delete this particular user, and let's create one more account and reload the page. Now come back here in the, right now we don't have any user. Come back here and let's try to fill out the details, and I can see the local storage. Just go to the application and remove all of this information, and let's provide this Daulat Hussain. Let's give the email, let's give the password, let's give the confirm password, and create account. And the account is successfully created. If I show you this application, there it is. This is the token we is displaying. This is the backend. This is the user memberships. Looks pretty good. So we have done with the sign up. Now we have to work on the logging functionality. So this is good. remove that one. We are done with this, and now we have to work on the login. So again, it's going to be a dynamic one. So we'll take this dynamic component, we'll say active component if it's equal to login, then we have to render the login component, otherwise we don't need to render and nothing. So we'll say login, and that we have to simply send the props. So we'll say set active component, and we have to send the XCS, and we don't need to send anything if it's not login. Now what we can do is we can come back here, and it's going to be quite similar with the sign up one. So we can simply come and receive the prop, we can receive the XCS and receive this as well. And what I'm going to do is come back here in the sign up, and this is the exact structure we're going to follow it. So what we can do is we can simply copy this, let's copy and paste here. Let's do one thing, and these are the huge things. Simply copy this entire user object, form field, and the function, and we have to simply modify this couple bit. So if I come back here, we need this notification as well. Simply copy, and that's what we can simply receive. Let's receive that as well. So simply copy this one and paste here. Let's provide this n, and looks good. So we got our login component, and now we have to modify that. So we don't need this, we know in this looks good. And we have this one as well. We'll say API login. We can simply remove this because we have to verify only 2 details. Remove that one as well. Change this one, save it. This is the notification. Change this information, email and password. Then we have to remove this one. No, let's keep it, and let's change the message. We'll say wait login to your account, and here we have to change the endpoint to login, and the rest should be fine. And here we have to change the name. We have to change this confirm password. That's the 2 things we have to send. And once the user will log in, we'll have the same thing. So this is going to be the same. Don't need to do any changes, because when the user will log in, we have to store this information in the local storage, so we can verify another component. And this is fine. So that's the exact thing we have to do. No need to do any changes. This looks absolutely fine. Here we have to check for an if condition, because when it's getting failed, we are sending the failed statement from the backend. So we'll take this, we'll say response.data.status is going to be fail. Then we can simply render that. So that's the check we are doing. Pretty good. And status, and this will be the message, because we are sending the message from the backend. And this is the same, don't need to do anything. So our login functionality is ready. Now all we have to do is to work on the JSX part. So that's pretty easy. All we have to do is to simply copy this one and paste here, and we have to simply remove couple of fields. We only need email and the password. So come back here, let's change this particular one name. Email is going to be there, let's change this to in, and this is the password is going to be there. Let's remove this confirm password, and let's change this particular function name. So this will call API login, and this will call login. Save it, and this will be sign up, and this will be sign up. Save it. Now if I reload the page, you can see we got our sign up component. And if I close that one, and if you can switch click, so this is the problem we have. It's there, sign up. Why it's it's not in the middle. If you click on this login, it's going to open the login component. Perfect. Sign up and login working fine. So come back here, and this is what I have. Now come back here in the code, and I can see here I have to provide this slash one more, and this will fix the issue. Save it, and here we have the in the middle, and this looks good. No issue we have. Let's do the inspect element. This is 100% responsive for mobile device as well. And come back here, and now let's try to log in the user. So what I will do, I'll simply go back to the application. I'm going to remove all of this information, remove that one, and let's try to log in. So let's pass the name, email, sorry, and let's pass the password. Click on this login. It's saying waiting, but nothing happened. So let's do the inspect element. go to the applications, and we don't have any data. Means something went wrong. Here we got a XCS fail message that incorrect email and password. Okay, so something wrong in our backend in the login functionality. So if I come back to my database, I can see in my collection, okay, my bad, the email is $Hussein. You can do one thing. You can simply validate the email very easily by adding a simple function called email validate, which will validate the email in the front end. You can see I have given the name instead of the email. That's why we are getting the error and we are not able to validate that. So that's a very easy fix. You can do one thing. You can simply delete this one and let's create a fresh account. So come back here, go back to the sign up, and let's try to reload the page and let's create an account. So this will say Daulat Hussain. Let's give the email. I'll say let's call it daulat@gmail.com. then we have the password 123, then we have the confirm password and call it create account. And here the account is successfully created and we have the one user and the data is successfully stored in the backend. Pretty good. We have the user email. Now we can come back here and let's try to log in. So before we log in, we have to remove the information from the local storage. So we have all of this, remove that one. Come back here. Let's go to the cookie is also getting stored in the cookie object. So you can see we have this cookie and site data. In that we have the cookie store. You can do the authentication from this particular cookie or the local storage. Both are fine. So let's come back to the login and let's pass the email daulat@gmail.com and let's pass the password, pass 123 and login. And finally we have successfully logged in. If you check the application, in that we will have all the details like the token ID, user ID and the membership details. Pretty good. So we are done with this authentication section. Is absolutely working fine. Now we can come back here, close this one, close this one, close this one and close this auth. We're done with all of this. Now we have to build the skeleton because we're going to have a multiple component on a page and it's a single page application. So we have to open the component based on the user interaction. If it's click on the trading, we have to open the trading component. So let's work on that. So this is where we're going to write down all the component and build the logic. So let's make it side by side. Right now we are open this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this sign home component. Right now, again, I have to simply stop the application, the backend part, otherwise it's not going to refresh and going to create a problem that every time I have to switch my account, I have to switch my screen and I have to simply reload the page. That's, I don't want it. Simply stop the backend part and do the changes here in the package.json file. Simply type next dev and save it and restart the application. So that looks pretty fine. We have started our front end. Now let's split the screen. Let's do that and drag it here, and now we can start working on the front end. So here we are, pretty good. We'll take a div and it will have a class called tech web -fan -wrapper. Inside that we'll take a div, it will have a class called tech web fan wrap. Inside that we're going to display our search. You can see there is a search component. Then we'll display, okay, I made a mistake, simply cut this one and paste here, not here in the login component, but we have to build it here. Save it, and now we have to import the header. There is a header. Let's send the prop, so we have to send the network name. Okay, let's bring it back and we'll pass inside this network name, and we have to set the set active component because we'll allow user to simply switch from different component from the header as well. So this is the set active component. Then we have to display our sidebar. In that we have to send the props, so we'll set this set active component to set active component, and we'll also take a dynamic block, and that will say if. So these are the three components we have defined, like search, header and sidebar is the global component, and it's going to be in all of the component no matter which page user is interacting with or which feature user is interacting with. Now we have to work on the body component. So if we'll say active active component equal to home, then we have to open the home component. We'll say home. If active component equal to trade tokens, then we have to open the trade tokens component. Inside that we can send the prop, but we'll do it later. Now if active component equal to top exchange tokens, inside that we have to display the token exchange, top exchange token. Then we'll have active component equal to networks. Then we have to display the network component, and in that we can simply send the props, network name, and we have to set this set network name to set network name. Then we can say active component equal to trading. Then we have to open the trading component, so we'll say trading, and let's send the prop. So we'll send the access prop, and we'll send the function, the trading function we have built in our context. So for the time being, let's call this trading. Let's keep it empty because we haven't imported, and that's what we have. We have to send actually a lot of data, so for the time being, let's keep it as it is. Now we have to say active component equal to pricing. Then we'll say price component we have to reflect. If active component equal to profile, then we have to render the profile component. In that we have to send the prop set active component to set active component, and we'll have the active component if equal to setting, then we have to open the setting component. Simple. And by default, if active component equal to add token pair, then we have to display the add token pair component. Otherwise we have to go with this empty component. So this is the structure which I'm following. You can see it's quite huge, and we have multiple component based on the active component we are opening. And this looks pretty fine. I'm getting this warning. Simply remove this for time being and save it. Right now you can see by default we are opening the home component, so you can see the home component is open. We have search, header, sidebar, and home. Looks good. So far things are pretty good, no issue we have. Now we can do one thing, we can start working on the component. So this is what we have. Now click on the component. So the thing we want to work is, let's see which component we can start working on. So these are the imports we have done. We have taken this trade variable, and these are already done. We have done with the sign up and login. Now we have to work on the search and the header on the sidebar. So let's start with the sidebar. Then we're going to work on the other component. So let's do one thing. Let's simply open this one, and let's copy this one, and that's what we're going to simply import and work now. Simply receive the prop,